This story goes back to those stupid trends we used to do when we were younger to scare the living daylights out of each other. They seemed fun at first, but from what I've experienced that night, I wouldn't do any stupid trends again. The 3 a.m. challenge was pretty popular, and kids today are probably still scaring the crap out of themselves doing it. That night changed my life forever. It was summer break before I started high school, and was also the height of the heat wave that year. So as much as I liked going out, I also enjoyed just staying home and watching some scary movies. I love slashers and thrillers, but paranormal ones were my all-time favorite. My brother Richie was a couple years younger than me, so we rarely spent much time together. He came to my door knocking so hard I thought the door was gonna fall right off the hinge. I told him to come in and he busted in with a huge grin on his face. "You have to see this video. We have to go see this." What he showed me was a movie trailer to this new ghost thriller that was coming out in a few weeks. But by then, we would have already went back to school. We decided to go once it came out, but Richie had other plans in the meantime. A few days later, he comes to me again, almost knocking me over, spilling my cereal all over the floor. "I'm sorry, but you have to see this video. You already showed me that movie trailer." "No, this is something else, much more exciting than an R-rated movie," he said with a smirk. So of course I took the bait. "Okay, shoot, what now?" He then said, "We should make our own scary movie, like a found footage type thing. You know, like the Blair Witch Project, except we both survive? Or do we?" He laughed so hard his asthma started to kick in. "See, that is what you get for trying to get me killed off from this non-existent movie you're making." I was confused on exactly what he wanted to do. He showed me a video called the 3 a.m. challenge. There were different versions of this challenge, but this one consisted of people breaking and entering somewhere and staying there until 3 in the morning. You would basically be searching for any type of paranormal activity. He wanted us to do our own challenge video, which of course I was hesitant on doing so. I didn't want us to get caught up with trespassing and getting criminal charges. Richie was a persistent kid and insisted that he knew exactly how to work our way from getting caught, so reluctantly I agreed to his crazy plan. The main reason why I decided to go along with this little movie of his was because I truly felt bad. I barely spent any time with him this summer, and now with school around the corner, I would be in high school while he would still be in middle school. I didn't see us hanging out too much once school started, and I thought that this would be one huge adventure together that we can remember forever. We were discussing the locations for this challenge, and Ricky mentioned the PAC, or PAC, Party Animal Club. It was like a knockoff Chuck E. Cheese that we used to go to a lot as kids. Instead of a giant mouse, the animatronics were a band of woodland-style creatures. It was a pretty old place, but people still wanted to take their kids somewhere cheap to play. We agreed that security probably wasn't going to be a big issue, so the plan was to stay there in the tunnels past closing time, and then come out afterwards so we can go searching for this weird, creepy stuff. Tonight was a night it was all going down. We waited until our mom went back to work, and she was working a double. I was putting on a jacket, and my brother came into my room. I laughed because he wore all black like he was getting ready for a big diamond heist. He said, "Laugh all you want, but it's going to be easier to blend in with the darkness." He had a point there, but I didn't want to let him know that. I quickly put on my black sports jacket and a beanie, and we were off. It was about an hour to closing time, so we decided to walk there, because it was just a half-mile from home. As we got to the entrance, which was a giant door that looked like an opening to a forest with pillars that were tree trunks, I asked Richie to make sure that the camera was charged. "Don't be mad, but I kind of forgot the camera." Try not to get pissed. I told him it was okay, that we would still make this a night to remember, even if we didn't have any photographic evidence. Once we went in, we were definitely the odd ones out. All over, there were little kids running around with handfuls of tickets and buckets of candy, parents chasing after them to get them to put their jackets on to leave. We brought a couple of bucks so that we could play a few games, not to look like a bunch of creeps. They announced that they were closing in 10 minutes, and we made our way to the tunnels. I placed my hand on my brother's shoulder and asked, "Are you really sure about this?" But he gave me this smirk and just continued to head into the tunnels. We headed to the highest point and waited. He assured me that we would be okay, and I asked how. He said, "You really think these workers want to come up here after dealing with these kids all day?" After seeing the chaos earlier, I really couldn't disagree. As we waited, I think I must have dozed off because my brother shook me and I screamed, startled. He laughed and called me a little scared baby. "We haven't even started yet and you're already scared, punk." I rolled my eyes at him and we started to climb down the tunnel. Funny how these tunnels always seemed bigger as a child. Now I think one wrong move and we would be stuck here forever. I thought that we would be in complete darkness, but there was some arcade games that were still plugged in and some lights beaming from them. As we walked around, there was one light on stage that was a bit dim. The light was beaming down on the bear animatronic, who appeared to be the leader of the animal singing band. The bear was just standing there looking right into my eyes. I quickly darted my glance elsewhere because I started to freak myself out. As we were standing there, I was starting to get an eerie vibe, like something was wrong. You ever get a bad feeling, like something or someone was following you? I was in a trance looking at the pack band until my brother snapped me out of it. He said he really had to go pee and was going to the bathroom. I didn't want to split up, but I didn't want him to think that his big brother was scared of the darkness. So reluctantly, I stayed behind. Just like that, I was alone. I made sure to walk through the areas that had some lights, looking at all the old arcade games that stole many dollars from me. I kicked one out of spite, and it made a loud ping noise and shut down. I decided to move away from the machine that I probably broke before my brother could see what I did. I made my way to the stage where the mascots of the restaurants were. The bear's name was Big Paw. He was standing up there wearing a Hawaiian button-up, the type old guys wear on vacation. He also had a fedora-type hat and was holding on to a harmonica close to the mic. I thought it was creepy the way they dressed him up to look human-like. I looked into Big Paw's eyes, and the shimmer they had almost appeared to be real. I thought I was freaking myself out by being here at night, but the more I looked into his eyes, the more I felt something was off. We had to get out of here now. All of a sudden, I heard a crash. It made me jump. I ran to the bathroom to get my brother so we could leave. I went in there, yelling, screaming, but nothing. I checked all the stalls. Still, I couldn't find him. I ran out of the bathroom and started to scream out for him. I don't know how, but I ended up in front of the stage again. It felt like I was going around in circles with no exit. I started panicking and let out a huge scream. I took a deep breath, closed my eyes. I needed to focus and get myself together if I wanted to find my brother and get the hell out of here. When I closed my eyes, I felt something run past me. I opened them quickly and my eyes darted around me. I didn't see anyone, but I did spot a tiny mouse sniveling on a pizza crumb. I laughed at my own stupidity for freaking myself out. I started to walk again to the bathroom to see Richie was just messing with me. That's when I looked at the stage and my heart dropped. You ever get that feeling of pure fear and hopelessness? Well, this is the only way to describe what I saw, or in this case, what I didn't see. Big Paw was no longer on stage. The huge lifelike animatronic bear, which I'm sure weighed a ton, literally disappeared from stage. I looked around for it, but nothing. I looked around for Richie and still couldn't find him. My heart felt like I was going to explode. I looked at the time and it was 3 in the morning. 3 in the morning, just like the 3 a.m. challenge. This could not be real life. Suddenly, all the machines in the place turned on at once. All of the sounds and lights were flashing. It was so loud that I had to cover my ears. I couldn't think and concentrate at all. I didn't have time to think before I was being pulled away. I yelled, but realized it was Richie. He said, "We have to get out of here." All I could do was hug him. I was scared I would never see him again. I asked him where he had been, but his face was pale and he didn't utter a word, just holding his face between his hands. I moved his hand and saw a cut to his eyebrow and a bruise appearing on his cheek. "Who did this?" I asked. He dragged me to the arcade machines where we sat on the floor. A tear rolled down his face and he said, "When I went to the bathroom, I heard some footsteps. I thought it was you." The steps stopped and I looked around and suddenly was punched in the face. I was knocked out and woke up in some back office. "We are not alone and we need to get the hell out of here now." We headed for the door in the front and we crouched down around the machine so that we couldn't be seen in the chaos of everything still going on. We were almost there and then suddenly everything went quiet and still. It felt like someone was watching us. My brother looked back and screamed. I didn't have a chance to look back and try to grab Richie and run. I felt the vibrations of heavy footsteps as the floor shook. I reached for the door and I heard my brother yell again. I turned around and he was getting pulled by someone in a hood. I couldn't see the face, but I didn't care. I ran towards the person ready to throw the hardest punch of my life, but before I could, someone grabbed me by surprise and I was on the floor. I fell down and I saw Richie getting dragged away. I was starting to black out right before everything faded. I swore I saw the bear mascot looking down at me and smiling. Next thing I know, I was waking up in a hospital bed. How the hell did I even get here? I started to panic, trying to get up, but Richie ran up to me and hugged me. I felt a sense of relief that he was okay. I started to ask him what the hell happened, but in walked a police officer. I thought, oh man, we are in big trouble. But the police began to explain what happened. Apparently, the restaurant was being robbed at the same exact time that we decided to stage our own little 3 a.m. challenge. When we ran towards the front, it tripped the alarms and they showed up soon after. They said there were 2 employees that were planning on robbing the pack for a while. The one that dragged my brother away was shot in the leg after not putting down their weapon. The other, however, was never found. He told us that we were lucky to be alive and also noted how stupid we were to be trespassing, but that they would not be pressing any charges since we were just kids. I was able to go home after a few hours after being lectured from my mom for a very long time. Richie and I were put on punishment for the rest of the summer until school started, which was pretty well deserved. We made a pact that we would never do anything that stupid again and to never go back to the pack. A couple of weeks had passed since the nightmare had happened. School was drawing closer and my brother seemed to be his old self again. This year, I think I want to try and hang out with my brother a bit more. This experience definitely showed me how short life can be, and I want to make the most out of mine. I was up in my room and I heard loud music from next door. I went downstairs past the living room just to see my brother looking out the window. I went up to the window and my mom said, "It's just a birthday party for the boy next door. You guys should stop by to say hello." Richie didn't say a word. I asked what was wrong and he just pointed out the window. The party was pack themed and they hired the band to play. Only there was something off. Big Paul was looking towards us, smiling, tipping his hat. I looked at Richie and his mouth was wide open. I looked down again and Big Paul was no longer looking at us, but staring back into the crowd of children.